Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the leveling guide for my Caustic Arrow Poison Ballista build. So we finished leveling this one recently over on twitch.tv/Palsteron. If you guys want to see everything live, then I will link this VOD down in the description. I don't want to upload like 6 hours of gameplay to YouTube. I don't think most people are that interested, maybe in the future, but I'll link to it down below. In terms of how I leveled, well, I basically only have everything that is here this league. So no tinctures, no new gem, and it was smooth as butter. And I prepped a little bit of a leveling PoB for you guys right here. From Act 1 to Act 10, then a little bit of after acts, and then also whenever you get your last sanity point, the Uber Lab, there's another respec. Some people were confused last league, so I actually separated the leveling PoB from the normal PoB. The endgame PoB will be put into the other one, but yeah, leveling is now separate, also linked down in the description. I will now basically run you through how you level this build. But just so you know, after Leaguestart, I will be supporting this further for the first week whenever I'm playing. I will be doing at least 3 update videos, basically guiding you into the end game. If I find something about the new league mechanic that's really strong for this build, or maybe a new item or any new tech that I find, that will be on this channel as well. So if you want to sub, then you will not miss those. But with that said, let's get into it. There are 3 stages to Caustic Arrow. The first one is level 1 to 11, where you basically just go for Caustic Arrow and Shrapnel Ballista, the good old. I will show you all the gems in a second. And for single target, especially against Brutus, you want Puncture and Burning Arrow. You just stick it in, run around, it's gonna get just decimated, right? Then at level 12, you get access to Toxic Rain, and you basically want to make 2 Toxic Rain setups. One normal Toxic Rain self-cast with Mirage Archer, and then one with Ballista. And then at level 38, you will go into hit-based Caustic Arrow. So not the dot pool, the hit. At this point, you have a little bit of poison, so the poison will do some damage, but it is also a lot of hit damage. And you have overlapping projectiles, so that is going to be incredible. Now, Caustic Arrow and obviously Caustic Arrow Ballista. We are a Ballista build, but technically, until we get Wilma's Requital, there's no reason for us not to deal damage ourselves. Later, once we spec into more Ballista nodes, sure, Ballistas will kind of be just way stronger. There's no reason for us to even do anything. But for now, all damage can help. Now, the first stage, let's start with the gems first. We will have Caustic Arrow with Volley and Pierce. Basically, Caustic Arrow can overlap with Volley, and then you can also Pierce. If you don't have a good bow, technically you can go Mirage Archer instead of Volley. But if you even have a little bit of flat damage on your bow, this is actually going to deal a ton of damage. If you like Mirage Archer more, you can try it instead of Pierce or Volley. I personally don't mind to play it like this. And then you have Shrapnel Ballista. Pierce is the most important support, and then faster attacks will make it feel a lot smoother. Both Puncture and Burning Arrow are basically only there to help you kill Brutus. You go to him, you put down your Ballistas, you Puncture it, you Burning Arrow until it gets ignited, and you just run around like a crazy person, and it's gonna die. You don't necessarily need Burning Arrow, but you get it for free, so why not throw it in there? Withering Step is there to debuff enemies around you. It's very nice, especially on bosses. And then Blink Arrow, you use Blink Arrow over Flame Dash because Withering Step shares a cooldown with Flame Dash, so it would screw that up. Now for this setup, the only pathing you need to do is this right here. Pretty much standard. These 2 nodes are actually very important, especially already for later when Caustic Arrow takes over, because these also scale your poison and your hit damage, which increased damage on poison is going to be very, very scarce. Even these starting nodes don't work. All of this is just projectile damage, which only counts for your hit, which is also why we're going to spec out of these for attack speed later. But so far, this is all you need. Now, this is basically where you stop exactly before Merville. And exactly before Merville, you're going to get level 12, which means now you're going to go Toxic Rain. These links here are open in case you find a 4 link in between level 12 or 37 at some point. If you have another green socket, you can go Vicious Proj, but the GG would be that you get another blue socket with Efficacy. So your first setup is going to be Toxic Rain, Ballista, Totem, Faster Attacks. Faster Attacks just makes it feel so much better. It's so much more responsive. The damage is already delayed, so you really want that extra attack speed. And the same is true on your normal setup, and all that changes is instead of Ballista Totem support, you now have Mirage Archer. Basically, your playstyle is going to be you fire with Mirage Archer every 4 seconds, you just place down totems, move, move, move. And basically, your Mirage Archer plus your totems are going to make short work of anything. Blink Arrow, once again, if you have space for faster attacks, you can do it, but at this point, the socket pressure might be a little bit too much, so I didn't want to put it in here. It's not that important. Withering Step as well still stays. Now we have a Frenzy setup, which starts at level 16, and you have Mana Forged Arrows with it. So whenever you attack with your Toxic Rain, with your main Toxic Rain, you will automatically fire Mana Forged Arrows, which gives you Frenzy charges. This is only really relevant against bosses, because otherwise you have Blood Rage anyways. Now, as for auras, I have these right here. So first, at level 16, you will only get summon Skitterbots that you really want. You don't need Precision, no nothing. And then at level 24, you will get Purity of Elements. But once you get Purity of Elements, you can unequip the Skitterbots, because otherwise you have 85% reservation and it's going to feel really bad. So keep that in mind. Now, one thing, if you want to, and for some reason you get this very early, right? This new Ascendancy, the Oath of the Magi, and you want to go for 50 all-res instead of the movement speed, which is the safest option if you want to. That is a lot of all-res early, I can tell you that. You're not going to die. Then replace the Purity of Elements with something like either Grace, if you want to be even more tanky, but that's probably overkill. In that case, you can probably go Haste, but that is up to you. You can also go Malevolence if you really want to, if you need the damage, but in general, I feel like Purity of Elements does its job. If you're somebody who's really good at gearing and you have a good eye, you can also go Malevolence or Haste, because you're not going to need the Purity. For me personally, it's a lifesaver. I just love not having to look at my gear. Also, I can click on strong boxes. It can't freeze me. Yeah, nothing can slow me down. It is very, very cozy. And then at the end, we have a Despair to curse enemies. Now, what do you need to do passive tree-wise for this segment of the game? So this is basically Act 2, Act 3 that we're now talking about. So we start in Act 2. After you did this, we are going to go right through Quick Step and all of this girthy movement speed up to here on the right side. Since we took these 2 points as well, you have more than enough damage to take a detour, get Herbalism, and get this max life mastery. This is going to make you a lot tankier early, and the Flask life recovery is also going to be super nice. And then we start pathing in this direction, because next up we want Farsight. Now, as for Farsight, we go into Act 3. We pick the Farsight. After we pick it, we get this 1 evasion and phasing node. It gives you chance to gain phasing for 4 seconds on kill and evasion rating. If you guys don't know, if a ballista kills with a dot, you get the kill credit. It doesn't always happen, because at this point our poison and even the dot from like Toxic Rain is very, very low. So it's gonna happen that stuff dies to the hit and we don't get the chance. But sometimes you gain the phasing and then it just feels amazing. And after that, what you do is you path through these life nodes down on the bottom. We're basically done here, and you get watchtowers. So we get a lot of totem placement speed here and also attack speed. We're not fully totems yet, I know, but this will give you a 4th totem. It will give you movement speed. It will give you totem placement speed. Now, question I get asked a lot is, why do I not go Onslaught? If you want to, you can do it, but it is so inconsistent for the same reason that I just talked about the phasing. But the thing with the phasing is it just costs me 1 point. This costs me 4 points to sometimes have Onslaught. It didn't feel good. I actually took it at first, and I had to unspec it immediately. And it makes it way easier to respec into Caustic Arrow early. Now, Act 4 is where you're going to start respec from this setup into Caustic Arrow. And all you need to respec, as you can see right here, is the 2 poison clusters that we just kind of went to on the way. First, you would take Swift Venoms, because right now, you're still in Toxic Rain. You're just taking the points to prepare for the transition. But this still gives you attack speed, which is still good for Toxic Rain. So you're not really wasting any points for now. Taking these 3 points, already getting some chance to poison and stuff. And then you take the Toxic Strikes right here. And now you're level 38, which is exactly the point where you are going to respec into this last setup. Why level 38? Mostly because that's where you get Greater Volley as a quest reward. And if you look how this is going to look like, once you have Greater Volley is like this. Going from Greater Volley to Volley is round about 70-80% more damage, if that tells you anything. So that is very important. It also needs a 4-link. Now, there are 2 4-links that you can theoretically have. The first one is green, 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 red. This is the most important one. You really want this. If you have chromatic orbs and you have an evasion base, there's a high chance that if you do that, you only get exactly 1 red. So you can try it on that. And the second setup, which you don't have to have, but it's nice to have, is 4 greens. If you only have 3 greens, that's totally fine. Put your self-cast setup into the 3 greens. But the Ballista setup, it's very important that you have these links, because you need Caustic Arrow with Ballista Totem support, and then Greater Volley, as we said, but you also need, as your 4th link, chance to poison. This gives you 40% chance to poison, which gets you to 100% with Herald of Agony, and it gives you a little bit of added chaos damage. Now, at some point later, I'm going to tell you when, we are going to replace chance to poison with added chaos damage, which means you should definitely do Library Quest and get an added chaos damage support to replace chance to poison later. If you don't do that, you only get it from Lillyroth or from Library, and it's always level 1, and you need those levels. If you get it later, it's not already leveled like other things, right? Added chaos damage support, just buy it. I think it costs an alch. Yeah. 1 alchemy, it is worth it. Put it in your offhand and level it. Because once we have the 100% chance to poison is useless, and the by far best support is going to be added chaos damage, but only if it's leveled. For your main Caustic Arrow support, same thing applies here. You can level another added chaos damage support if you have the currency. If not, that one is less important, but still. I'll actually put the added chaos damage here so you guys don't forget about that. But yeah, that's the only thing you have to know. Chance to poison will be swapped for added chaos later. Those are your main setups. Self-cast setup, Ballista setup. Then we have Blink Arrow still, with Withering Step still. Still that nice Mana Forged Arrow Frenzy setup. We have Blood Rage, now Despair. And what changes here is now you're going to put Purity of Elements on top of Herald of Agony. Now, this is going to bring your mana reservation to 75%. However, at this point, you will have taken this Life Mastery right here, which makes your mana consumption a lot less. As for your first Ascendancy, you want Nature's Reprisal. This is what you need to swap into Caustic Arrow. Do this as soon as possible. It is a crazy damage increase, especially on Caustic Arrow, which hits so many times. You would be surprised just how many Wither stacks you get even as early as Act 4. So that should work out pretty easily. So yeah, that's basically all about it. Once again, Purity of Elements, if you want to use something else, sure. Just make sure you don't get one-shot by every single pack. So let's see how we proceed here, because we are in a very juicy region. We want all of these +1 arrows, and we want the poison clusters. Now, the very first thing you want, now that we're Caustic Arrow, is actually get some AoE, because Caustic Arrow wants AoE, so we get this Mastery right here. After that, we're going to path up and get Master Fletcher. It gives you an additional projectile that's like 20% more damage to both your setups. And then in Act 6, oh, also, get this Mastery right here. It gives you 30% chance that when you place a totem, you drop 2 instead, which, if you just want to clear, it's going to be a lot of extra coverage and a lot of extra arrows. After that, before you move on to the top, do not forget about this Bow Mastery right here. Right about now, the accuracy might get a little bit low, so you definitely want this. And you want to micromanage this and make sure you have as many green sockets on your bow as possible. If you can, 4 greens. And once that's done, you start moving up. Now, you could take the additional projectile here, but now that you're up here, there's actually more important nodes to get first. First, want to get Fatal Toxins, very strong node, but on the way, you also get 25% chance to poison. So you can already see we almost don't need the chance to poison anymore, and we can replace it. And after that one, into Act 7, what we do is first, we go for the multi-shot. Now it's actually worth it because Fatal Toxin is taken. And after that one, we take the chance to poison nodes here, including Hunter's Gambit, but that's next act. And at this point, you want to swap. So hopefully you already found another 4-link where you can go green, green, blue, red, and green, 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 blue. All right, next up, Act 8. After that one, you will see that I took Acuity down here. This is something we want to solve with Precision and other stuff later once we have Life Tap. The accuracy for now will be fixed on the passive tree. So we take Acuity and then this huge Accuracy Mastery. Once you have this Mastery, you basically don't have to think about accuracy again, but later these will be respect. And then we go to the top and grab Blood Drinker for a little bit of life on kill. Now, somewhere around Act 7, Act 8, you're also going to do your second Ascendancy, which is going to be Master Toxicist. At this point, you have all the poison clusters, so poisons are going to be pretty damn big. And with this one, you get Poison Prolif, which will help you clear, as well as that you get basically 20% more damage. Now, if you remember to respec it later, and if you're good at micromanaging your gear, you can also take this 15% max life if there are no life modifiers on your body armor, I usually don't recommend it because people just don't think about it, so I will not have it in this PoE, but if you watch this video and you think about it, take it. Oh, one more thing you might have noticed from Act 6 to Act 7 is that I actually swapped the starting nodes. So that's basically 3 respecs that I would take as soon as possible, because once we're in this region up here and we get poison damage, these projectile damage nodes just kind of suck because they don't count for your poison, only for your hit, and then the attack speed is going to be absolute premium. Now after that, we go into Act 9, and Act 9 will basically just be filling out this node here, because this node is just premium, 20% increased damage over time. That is way too much for 1 point. And then I do something that you might not agree with. Maybe you want to do something else. You can adjust it for yourself. I absolutely love, I have been a denier of this tech. I love early spell suppression with Lucky Mastery. And I have been converted by my chat on this one, which basically told me to try this out. And basically in Act 9, you're going to start this spell suppression cluster you want Inveterate, which this is a lot of spell suppression already, but then you are also going to get the Lucky Mastery in Act 10. And with this and just the passive tree, you're sitting on 92% chance to spell suppress in Act 10. You're not even done with the campaign. It is just glorious. It feels so good early. So after you grab that, as you can see right here, we went through the life node up to resourcefulness, which gives you even more spell suppress, some life. And then we get Fangs of the Viper, a little bit of movement speed, some damage. We grab all this damage over time stuff here. And now Coordination and Blood Siphon. The really big thing about the Shadow area is it has a lot of small attributes. So for example, this has 20 strength, this has Dex and Int, and up here we also have Dex and Int. This will make our gearing a lot easier for now. And this is the region that will later be respec'd once you have a cluster jewel down here. More on that a little bit later. But once we're Act 10 and we've kind of finished this, we have 94 points. We're kind of level 70-ish. That is roundabout all we have. All right, so what happens after the acts? Well, you're now going to get into maps. Usually I like doing some heist for a little bit of currency to get into maps, get my setup, get a little bit of rares, get a 5 or a 6 link. That is usually how I do it. But if you prefer to jump right into it, will be a lot harder, like with every build. But after acts, what you're going to do first is you're going to grab this ballista cluster down here. It takes a little bit to go there, but that is what you will want. Obviously, you also want Ironwood, but at this point, we're going to be level 87 or something. You definitely want to grab that as well. I'll just include it here. Now, you can respec this small point here from mana to life. It doesn't really matter, whatever you want. And then you can also grab Revenge of the Hunted. Plus, you obviously fill out Trickery up here as well. Very strong point. This is like up to level 89. You don't have to take all of these points because you can get Uberlap before, right? And once you have Uberlap, a few things happen here. You respec into this, and the main reason for that is Uberlap is going to be Master Surgeon. First, you get Nature's Adrenaline, which is going to give you a really good flask sustain, but Master Surgeon is going to be where you're going to start popping off, and now your life flask matters a lot. You need a good life flask. If you don't know what a good life flask looks like, check out my build guide video and the POB right there. But basically, your life flask now turns from a reactive flask to a proactive flask that you just press and you have a lot of regen. To do that, you need field medicine and these small points right here. You're going to take those and you're basically just going to respec some points to path right out of here, and you're going to respec all of these goodies up there. And yeah, that's about it. Everything else you can glean from the main POB. That is round about it. So Uber Lab Respec, make sure you have a good life flask, all of that good stuff. Now let's talk about the one thing that could screw up your leveling. The only thing I can think of anyways, because even attributes are not that big of a deal. The only thing I can think of is that you screw up your weapon. Yeah, there it is. Weapon crafting tips. Now this one is very, very important because your weapon matters a lot. At least starting at level 37. Before that, it's kind of important, but not as important. The first thing you have to realize is Quill Rain is a bow that a lot of people use for toxic grain leveling. It is also completely garbage for Caustic Arrow. And the reason is that for poison, your weapon damage matters. Quill Rain is good for everything where weapon damage doesn't matter. For example, Toxic Rain, that kind of skill is like a spell, right? It has its own pods, which have their own base damage on the gem. All you want is a lot of attack speed. But you will hate yourself if you use this on Caustic Arrow. Do not use this. It's absolutely terrible. I have to delete it right now before I forget about it. It is garbage. I'll say it in every video from here on out because this is the biggest mistake that people make always with this build. Okay, let's start from the bottom. Level 1 to 11. Now, At this level, you're going to have a crude bow, a short bow, or a long bow. With longbow being the best one you can get, obviously, yeah, it gets better and better per level. At this point, you just want a ton of damage. That's basically what you're looking for. Crit is completely useless. Attack speed, semi-useful. What you want to do is spam essences, low-level essences. So you're going to get, for example, a Whispering Essence of Hatred from a random mob. That's going to be huge. Same with Contempt, very strong. The other two, whatever. But if you get one of those, slam them on one of these bows quite early, and you're going to have a lot of damage. The thing about this is, early, it doesn't matter what damage you have. You don't have like Fizz scaling or LE scaling or Chaos scaling. All you have is damage. That's all that matters. You have this projectile, this generic projectile damage. So everything goes. That's all you have. And bow damage, obviously. But yeah, any damage you can get is welcome. The more, the better. Pick up any rare bow. This goes for the whole campaign, but just pick up any bow and ID it and see what happens. At level 12, this changes because at level 12, any bow with good attack speed really does. Level 12 is where you get Toxic Rain, Ballista. Now you're not really hit-based anymore. Now mostly your pods do the damage, right? So now what you're going to do is you don't really need to essence anything. All you're looking for is have high attack speed, which is going to be the short bow. So you want to save one of those for the respec. That's all that matters, the attack speed. Everything that's on your bow, unless it's also attack speed, which is going to be hard to get and too expensive to craft, if you get a short bow with attack speed, you're king. And at this point, if you find a Quill Rain, then yes, use it. It's crazy good on Toxic Rain in this range of level. So that is like the easiest to do. Now, in this period, you should already be looking for high physical damage bows for later when you respec into Caustic Arrow, because Caustic Arrow, again, level 38, is going to be hit-based. You're going to deal poison damage. So physical damage is going to be the most important damage type. Attack speed is nice to have. Whatever. At 38, let's look at the bases. Before 38, you will already start dropping Grove Bows, which is another 1.5 attack speed bow, but it also has quite a lot more damage than any of these bows. Now you should not be looking at any of these lower level bows. You should be looking at high level bows that have decent to good attack speed, but really good damage. So Grove Bow, Reflex Bow is fine. Decurve Bow, not so much. Compound Bow, okay. Stay away from these 1.25 attack speed ones. They also feel awful to play with. But what I'm saying is look out for adds physical damage, percentage physical damage, and if you can, craft on the other one if you have one of them and you have a good roll, especially if you also have attack speed. Now, this is all well and good, right? Pal, thank you very much. Pick up bows, and if they're good, you're good, right? But there is a worst case scenario in which you don't find a good bow, and then there is a certain vendor recipe that you can follow. So first up, you go to the vendor right here, and in Act 4, if you're already transitioning to Caustic Arrow right now, you look for a good bow. If you can, a 4-link. If you can't, that's fine as well. Compound Bow is fine. Whatever you find here. Grove Bow would be GG. But I'm just, for example, going to take this Compound Bow here. You want a white one. I don't know if it works with a magic one. Yeah, pretty sure you want a normal one. Okay, so you have this one. And yeah, you want some physical damage on it. All you have to do is go to any vendor, doesn't matter, get a Rustic Sash, and then any random essence that you maybe didn't want to use on anything else because it sucked. All you need to do is make it rare. Doesn't matter what's on it. Completely irrelevant. It's just there for vendoring. You get one Blacksmith Whetstone. Now, you should have found several of those by now. But if you have found some Whetstones instead, you can also go here and buy one for 3 Whetstones. And then what you do is you sell those 3 in here. And now you have a random bow between 50 and 64% increased physical damage. You click accept on, you have the bow. And this is all you need in general to make your bow. One thing you can do as well, just so you know, before you even start this, if you have more than one blacksmith, if you have like several blacksmiths, before you do this whole recipe, right? Before you do it, you apply those whetstones so you get some quality. Doesn't sound like much, but it actually is quite a bit early. So for example, let's say you have 3, you're gonna get those extra quality for extra physical damage. So that's the worst case scenario. But there is another scenario in case tinctures are very easy to get. Now, if you don't know, in endgame, we're going to go for a poison berry tincture on our weapons. And I have no idea how rare they are. They seem very common because that's only the implicit. The mods kind of matter. It's just like a a base type, right? It's like saying, ooh, it's gonna be hard to get a coral ring or something. I don't know, but in case these are cheap, doesn't matter what the mods are, just all damage can poison. If you find a good Ellie bow, I mean, your leveling is over. Have a lot of Ellie damage on your bow. It doesn't even matter. Ellie damage, physical damage, all damage can poison. This doesn't take away the need for chance to poison. You still need chance to poison, but all damage can poison, theoretically. But if you throw that on and you can level with that, I mean, it's over. Now, once again, I'll link the VOD down in the description if you want to see the full leveling run or just zap around. But in case you're too lazy, I'll quickly show you how it looks at level 68 before you get to maps, basically. You put down totems, you do some frenzy, everything gets annihilated. And if it doesn't die in front of you, it's going to die behind you. You just put down totems, everything melts. And this is on a level 56 bow right here. This is on the rare bow we've just seen. This is old patch. This is no gem. This is no tincture. Just absolutely nothing, and this is all you have to do. You phase through enemies while they die behind you. That's really all you have to do. Blast through if you take some damage, and yeah, that's gonna carry you into normal maps and then into yellow maps, and just follow the main guide after that. But with that said, I hope this video could help you out a little bit. If you guys want to play alongside me over on twitch.tv/Palsteron, I'll be online like 1 or 2 hours before the league starts. This time it actually starts earlier, so for the EU boys, now we can actually play like 8-10 hours without completely screwing up our sleep rhythm. But once again, this build does involve some new stuff, so I can't completely test it out right now, so it can't be even more thorough as some of my other builds maybe. But I am super excited about the league, super excited about this build. I cannot wait to level with it again. And yeah, with that being said, I still have a slogan. See you next time.